Hello, everyone, and welcome to NoCo Live.
Oh my God.
On the ones and twos, Chris Lanfear here, holding it down in the NoCo studio bunker / apocalypse shelter.
Yes.
And with me on the via satellite, our our illustrious co-hosts Charles and KevKat. How you guys doing?
I'm here. I'm alive. I'm Animal Crossing.
I'm holding it down in this big ass fluffy blanket covered in flowers. What's good?
I wish I was under a blanket right now. I mean, I guess I could be.
Nothing is stopping you. Literally, the only thing preventing you from following your dreams is your own goddamn mind.
Yeah, fucking A, Chris. Follow your goddamn dream.
My dream is to wake up from this goddamn nightmare, guys.
Holy fucking shit. It's goddamn hell, and no one knows how to get the fuck out. I mean, people know how to get out of it, but no one cares. No one's trying.
Oh, we lost KevKat. Miss Crazy Fangirl is here. What's up, you guys? Hope you're well, healthy, and safe. Hi, Fangirl.
We're here. We're alive. We're okay. We're
doing all right for the most part. It's of course a crazy time, but
right.
How are you doing, Fangirl? What's going on in your world? Are you? We hope you're happy and safe as well. Yeah. What?
Every time I said every time I'm out smoking, like if I'm vaping or whatever, if I choke on my vape and I start coughing, I like frantically look around and I'm like, I'm just bad at smoking. No.
How many? Okay, I think that's a good question to start off with. How many times since this whole thing started have you all been hypochondriacs and been like, oh my God, I'm going to die. This is it. This is my death.
I wear a binder. It's shortness of breath. I can't tell if it's literally because my ribs are collapsing or if I'm about to kill everyone I work.
Chris, you what?
Basically every time I feel a weird shortness of breath or like my throat feels dry, I'm convinced I'm dying. So yes, it's definitely happening to me. How about you?
It's like once a day where I'm like, oh, my lower back hurts. Oh, it could have been that you were just playing like an hour of Just Dance. No, it's the coronavirus. No, and it's like shit like that, like so fucking often. I'm just struggling to just not like tell myself, hey, you know what, you fucking idiot? Like, just take a deep breath, like for a minute, and you'll be fine.
Yeah.
So that's where I'm at.
It's been so it's been what, 2 or 3 weeks since we've done the show, and my God, has the world fallen apart without us. I think there's a correlation there, don't you?
A direct correlation. If we don't get fucking NoCo live out, pandemics happen.
Seriously, all I'm saying is there was not a global pandemic and a burgeoning recession the last time we did a show. So
this is
all I'm saying is you've never seen me and Batman in the same room before.
All right, we've got the memes. The memes
That's
are
also
here,
true.
my folks. My
That's also
dudes,
true.
we've got the memes. We've got the memes.
Stop.
But can we do that? Are we gonna get copyright struck and lose all the money that we're making for these videos, Chris?
Yeah.
You're covered under parody law.
I'm more than happy to sacrifice the $0 we're making from this show. So by all means. Fangirl says we're safe and happy here. Got a lot of cleaning done. Good to know you guys are good. That's good to hear, Fangirl. You are being productive while the rest of us are collectively losing our shit. I know that I've been. Thankfully, I have a job where I can work from home, so that's what I've been doing since last Monday. So this is week 2 of working from home for me. And as much as I like to think that working from home always would be a wonderful thing, I hate it.
I fucking hate it so much. Oh my God, I know. I'm good. I want to go away.
I mean, I like being home. I'm a homebody. I'm an introvert. So you would think, like, I've seen a lot of posts on social media from people being like, I'm an introvert. I've been prepared for this my whole life. Well, that's great. But there's a difference between, like, just kind of naturally being that way because that's your personality and being forced to be that way by virtue of the circumstances. And for me, like, working from home, I'm not nearly as productive at home as I am at the office, because when I'm at the office, I'm focused. I can, talk to my coworkers face to face and not through like a Skype meeting or something. And,
Right.
like, I don't know, my head just goes into a different space. It's like, I'm at work now. I'm here to do the work things, except when I'm not doing the work things at work, but that's a completely different conversation.
Right.
But being home all the time, it has completely thrown off my day. It has completely changed my sleep schedule and just kind of, it's like rewiring the way I think. I'm having to make coffee at home, which I've never done before. And was frankly kind of terrified at the prospect. But what's sad is that walking across the street to Starbucks is even more terrifying with the current state of world affairs. So I broke down and...
Why can't you go to Starbucks?
I can, but there's people, and I'm being told by everyone to stay away from the people.
Yeah, that's true.
So it's like, okay, well, do I need the coffee? Not technically. I could, in theory, get by without the caffeine, but I want the caffeine.
Can you though? Can you though?
So you brought up introverts like thriving in this environment, right? A friend of mine brought up a point the other day about how much of a hell this is going to be for extroverts, those who rely on social interactions to help with depression and getting energy and shit like that. They're not allowed to be around people because it could literally kill someone. And that could literally kill some people. That mental state that they're being forced into could fuck someone up so bad.
That's a good point. I mean, we don't tend to think about it in those terms, but yeah, there are tons of people who are by their very nature just extremely sociable, and they need that constant interaction from people, and now they don't have it. So it's like, what replaces that? If this is the new, if this is the drugs, if this is the new normal that like we're gonna stick with for a while, like people are gonna have to get creative. Fangirl says, I feel that wanting to get out sort of feeling. I work at a jewelry store in a mall, so going from seeing a lot of people a day to no one is driving me nuts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I miss my coworkers, seeing them in like person. Like I miss seeing you guys, and like KevKat and I see each other still, the whole living together thing. We're like literally a room apart, so we have better audio. So it's good. Like it's good that we have like each other right now, but it's also like it's a nightmare. It is such a goddamn nightmare that I just want to just like I don't want to do this. I just want to go to work. I want to get a yerba mate at work, and I just want to drink it and sit in my comfy work chair, and I want to do that, and I just want to go away.
Yeah, one thing I have discovered is that I really need a new office chair for my home office because it sucks balls. And, I'm having to stand up like every 30 minutes, which I guess you're supposed to do anyway. But, I'm being forced to do it against my will because my chair is like 1,000,000 years old.
You got two options. You can either get a standing work desk or you can get a dope ass gamer chair. And I'm voting for the gamer chair, bitch. You can get like speakers right next to your head. You could fucking pimp that shit out, dog. Quarantine time. Decorate your gamer chair.
Okay, I would be in favor of that, except here's the problem. I'm a Mac user, so I don't really game on the computer.
It don't matter. It don't matter. You just need a gamer chair. Go to Hobby Lobby. Get yourself.
I would not go to Hobby Lobby if I was on fire and they had all the water. Okay, I just wouldn't.
Fine. Go to Mitchell's and go get a bunch of puffy paint.
Who's Mitchell?
Go to Hobby Lobby.
Oh, Michael's?
Steal that shit. Steal it.
Yeah, that's what I said. I said Michael's.
was like,
No,
go to my
Mitchell's.
buddy Mitchell's house and tell him I sent you.
Yo. Hit up my cousin. He got that puffy paint in lock, dog. You're gonna have to trade at least 3 cigarettes and a nerd's rope for it.
Hell yeah. Well, I mean,
Or
if
maybe a roll of toilet paper.
your cousin Mitchell wants to trade a gamer chair for I've got some toilet paper. I do have I wouldn't say a surplus, but I have a fair amount of toilet paper. So that is practically currency these days.
Top of the line gamer chair, 6 rolls of toilet paper.
Okay, yeah. And here's the thing. Chris. When it comes to the puffy paint, if you haven't painted your video game waifu on your gamer chair, are you even a gamer? Are you?
Do it in like the
I mean,
sugar
my answer to that
NoCo
question
girls.
was no before you started it, but it's definitely no with that modifier. So, I mean, I turned on my Xbox yesterday for the first time in like, I don't know, 4 months, and then it had to do updates for an hour. And by the time the updates were over, I didn't really want to do anything anymore.
I want to go over real quick. Chris has 120 gamer points. I have never seen Chris like actually play a game. And I think you're playing Lego Ninjago or whatever. What the fuck ever.
I did play Lego Ninjago with my little brother the other day because he's 8 years old and so he likes the Lego games.
That's what it is, Chris.
It's 100% true. You know.
Okay.
Otherwise, I would not be playing Lego Ninjago. Although it was kind of fun for being what it was.
Yeah.
But we did follow that up by playing Mortal Kombat 11, which is a great thing to play with an 8-year-old. So I had to kind of balance the scales a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Role model of the year over here.
That's what I'm going for. Role model of the apocalypse.
What is everybody playing right now? Like, what in your free time, the time that is free, when you're just.
I've been playing the worrying and refreshing CNN every 20 seconds game, and it's really cool because I win every time.
Yo, I literally said it earlier today. I was like, yo, this game sucks. There's microtransactions and everything, and I picked the wrong ending. I need to buy a new one. And my friend's like, what game? And I was like,
Yes. But Charles, you've been playing Animal Crossing, right? Tell us about that.
Oh God,
You sound so excited.
This game is beautiful. It is
so good.
It's so fucking good. Okay, Chris, have you ever played an Animal Crossing game?
No.
Okay.
I haven't had a Nintendo branded console or handheld since the NES.
Okay. I want to pitch you on this game.
Okay.
All right.
Is this going to be like
is
when
a
you
new
pitched me on Untitled Goose Game?
Kind of.
All right, go for it.
So the premise of this game, you when you start the game, you are whisked away to your own tropical island. You're going to a desert getaway, which honestly, right now, sounds pretty darn good. Getting away from your right, and you can just get the fuck away from everybody and everything and just start fresh, right? And then you find yourself on this island indebted with loans, deep loans to a goddamn raccoon. So this raccoon wants your goddamn money. He fucking wants it, Chris. And he will do anything that he can to get it. He's gonna get your fucking money, Chris. He will tell you every step of the way.
Can I just shoot that raccoon in the face?
No, he'll show up to your house with a fucking baseball bat and be like, "Hey, you missed out on your loan. Time for me to take your kneecaps."
Yeah, but I got a Tech 9.
I'm gonna
so
knock you in the kneecaps. But no, honestly though, like the everybody makes that joke, and it's funny. Haha, it's nooked you in the knee.
He's
but
actually
like,
so nice.
The game, Chris.
He's a very kind debt collector.
Yeah,
Yeah.
You get to like and decorate your house, and then you can go fishing, and then you can dig up fossils, and you can like build up a museum of fossils, and like you get to just hang out with your animal friends. It just sounds like what it would be like to be a furry with a job. Like
Those don't
just like-
exist.
Furries don't have jobs. 2020.
no, I'm just saying like being a furry with a job.
There's no way
It
you're
sounds
gonna
like
cram
I
that
get a-
costume into a smock at Walmart. Come on.
I get a buy a house. I get to hang out with my animal friends. Like I get a fish. I get to do whatever I want. That sounds fucking dope. Like
Yeah.
holy shit. Like I am a big fan of this game. It's Chris. I highly recommend it.
And Tom Nook will actually let you pay back your debt by just enjoying your
mouth
life
favors?
on this deserted beach. No. So he like has these things called like Nook miles or whatever, and you earn them by just doing shit around your island that you get to name. I named my island Anarchy, and it was so great to just hear Tom Nook go, "Let's have a toast to anarchy."
That's
Yeah.
It was
fun.
great.
I named mine Sago Buns. My island is named Sago
Oh.
Buns Island because this old dog who's sitting right here has the biggest donk that she's so thick.
She carries so much.
She is a
dog.
thick girl.
She's so thick.
Fangirl's
got-
been playing Minecraft and Doom nonstop.
No,
Nice.
Doom Eternal or Doom 2016? That's the question.
That is a
gonna
good
play
question.
Doom.
I'm not sure. It just says Doom. My brother
Doom-
also introduced me to Minecraft because that's what he's big into.
Minecraft is dope, man. I love Minecraft. I can get down some crafting. Do you have it on Xbox, Chris?
I do.
We should honestly just spend a little bit of time. Just do some crafting. Just build some shit.
I mean, what the hell else am I gonna do? Why not?
Right.
I think like I was kind of struggling to. Fangirl says the 2016 Doom. I was kind of struggling to understand. I get the idea of like building something and essentially being limited by only your imagination, and that's awesome.
Mhm.
But like I was kind of struggling with like, well, what's the object of it? Like when I'm playing a game, I need some sort of goal or objective, and he was like, no, you just build stuff, and I'm like, I don't understand. Like
Chris doesn't know how to enjoy himself.
I really don't watch. I need something to work towards, some way to measure like my success, I suppose.
Right.
Like at
There's
least in
something-
like Sim City, or like those sim games, like you would build a town and like you would make money or more people would come in. Like there would be some way to measure like how good your city was doing, right?
There is a way to measure how good you're doing. How many dogs can you put in your house? You win if you can fit the most amount of dogs in your house.
In Minecraft, yes. There's actually an achievement called "Oh my
Mhm.
God, so many dogs," where you have all of them.
Are you
Yeah.
serious?
So
all the
you just get all the dogs. Yeah, this is
yeah.
100% true.
This is 100% an actual thing that actually exists.
I'm speechless.
Obviously, we're fucking with you.
Well,
right?
yeah. But I was just like, I have no rejoinder for that. Like I just have like nothing. That's where my energy level is out. So it's a good thing we're doing a live show for an hour.
We're just gonna like for the rest of the show, we're gonna be like, oh yeah, man, fucking in Zelda, that part where you get to fuck the fairy in the giant shell. It's my favorite part.
Okay. But like real though, in Breath of the Wild, she grabs you and like takes you underwater in the shell,
Ooh.
and then she fucks you. She fucks you, and that's how you get extra fuck points in. They call it FP in Breath of the Wild.
You're a dirty
Right,
liar,
right.
sir.
No. He's absolutely right because if you
Right.
get enough fuck points, then you get to fuck Fish Boy.
Right, exactly. But here's the thing. The reason why, and this is the biggest thing that they don't really talk about in Breath of the Wild, the reason why they call it Breath of the Wild is the stank of that pussy.
Oh god.
Get the fuck out. Can we kick him from the call?
I'm sorry.
I mean, I will give you credit. That was a pretty good setup. Just
Thank you.
That's the last credit you get though, because No. This is a
I'm
family
All of your
show, Charles.
credentials are-
This is a family show for family people.
Oh,
This is a family show? This is not a family show. I distinctly remember one of the first episodes, Charles did a strip tease for a sandwich.
I don't remember. I remember taking my shirt off.
And then you danced. And then you danced. And you said, I'm a little pretty boy.
You can find
I
those
don't
in the
remember.
you can find that in the YouTube archives at youtube.com/NoCoFM.
I don't
Someone go
remember-
find-
Everybody, go to the YouTubes.
Okay. I
Someone
don't
go
remember
find that
saying-
clip and send it to me, because
Okay, I don't remember.
I think I've
saying
blocked that
I'm a
out.
pretty boy. I don't remember saying I'm a pretty boy, but that's so fucking on brand. Like, oh my god.
I think you said I'm a pretty princess, actually.
Ooh.
Oh, yeah. Mm,
Okay.
mm.
All right. Okay. Okay. All right. I think that that's pretty on brand as well.
Yeah,
Well,
I mean, either one of those would not be out of the question.
Right.
So what do we talk about, guys? We've been vamping here for 21 minutes, and
Well, you guys want
we
to talk about... Do you guys want to talk about something scary? In the midst of all this, right before it started, I started working in home care. So guess who I still work around currently?
senior citizens that are the highest risk population for COVID-19.
Oh, yeah, baby! I live in constant fear of killing the people I work for.
I assume that you're like wearing masks and gloves and hazmat suits of some kind.
Absolutely. My work is like running low on masks because everybody is. But I have gloves on every time I go out, every time I go to their house. I disinfect every goddamn thing. I'm so over the top about it. It's terrifying.
You kind of have to be, though. I mean, especially doing that kind of work. I mean, that's about as scary as it gets.
Right, honestly, it's so scary. One of the people I work with is 100 years old.
Like quite literally 100 years old.
Literally 100. They turn 101 this year.
Damn.
Right? There's so much I'm like, I don't want to breathe near you. I don't want to do anything. You mean the world to me, and if you go, I'm gonna jump off of this. No, I'm good.
Yeah, don't finish that sentence, please.
Can you ask them the next time you see them if they remember the last plague?
Yeah, did they live through the Spanish flu?
I don't know. I'll definitely.
Wasn't that in
ask.
like
I don't-
1918?
Don't, because the Spanish flu was in like the late 1900s, and that's kind of, hey, old person, you remember the last time hundreds of millions of people died? Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Fangirl
Oh my
says
God,
they
I
were
just
selling
remembered.
reusable cloth masks at Spencer's that look badass. You guys should check it out if they haven't shut down. I haven't seen a Spencer's in like 20 years.
There's one
It's
in
in
Greeley,
Loveland.
Colorado.
Is there one in Greeley?
Yeah.
There's also one in Loveland.
That's on brand too. There is not one in
The one
Loveland.
in-
Where?
Yeah, there's like a mall in Loveland, and there's
Centera?
Or
There's
I-
not a
I will-
Spencer's at Centera.
Oh,
I don't know where I live.
There was one in the old.
don't
Fort
ask me. I
Collins
just work
Mall.
here.
There was one
Yeah,
in the old
exactly.
Fort Collins Mall, and it closed down. And then there was a Hot Topic in the Greeley Mall that closed down and reopened up as a Spencer's, which is so fucking on brand for Greeley. It's like, yeah.
We grew up. We're not here for that fucking like kitty shit. We're here for the dildos.
Their dildos are fine. They're
Wait, they
not
have
the-
dildos at Spencer's?
Yeah, dog. That's like
dude,
that's
what?
like half their store.
I live in
Yeah,
Fort
that's
Collins.
like-
There's no Spencer's. I don't go to Spencer's.
What?
Go.
Have
go
you
to
never
Spencer's.com
left Fort
right now.
Collins?
I have, but I don't like leave the city limits, especially now. But like I don't leave the city limits and go, where do I find a Spencer's?
I mean, like, if you've been to a mall anywhere besides Fort Collins, there's probably a Spencer's there.
As far as I'm concerned, that doesn't exist.
Oh, wow.
That's how I feel about racism. No, I'm kidding.
Oh.
I'm sorry.
Welcome
that
to
was
White
really-
Privilege with Charles Joseph Kelly.
Yeah, it's true.
Hashtag nope, never, nope.
Nope.
I
love
had
that you
something,
bailed
but
on it.
that's just gonna nope. That's-
I like it. The actual hashtag is hashtag no.
I was gonna make a joke, but it was gonna suck.
Yeah, exactly. That's where we're all at right now. We're like,
That
what?
that should be the jingle for the goddamn show.
yeah.
That's the thesis of this show. Making a dumb joke, but it's gonna suck, and we still make it anyways, though.
Yeah. Because we just don't give up. But
Because we just don't give a nope. No, this is a family show.
it's totally a family show. It's 100% for families.
When we talked about my dick for 3 years on the last one.
Yeah. Speaking of your dick, how has traffic at Dr. John's changed since the outbreak started?
Almost not at all.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, like, it stops at night. Like, people don't come in late anymore. But, like, in the morning part, like, people will come in for a little bit. At least from what I know. I only work 1 day a week now, but from what Circus has told me, it's pretty much stayed stagnant. We haven't we've never been one of those stores that brings a whole lot of traffic all the time. It's always been spaced out and like one person at a time.
Right.
So it kind of works for that.
How is it like still working in a place that's still like open during it? Like, how are you feeling during it?
Oh my God, so nervous. So nervous. I'm like requesting anyone who works with me to wear gloves while they're working or to let me handle the money and touch everything that comes from them because I'm always wearing gloves and shit.
Yeah.
Making sure that I don't get too close to people and shit. It's just been,
Are they
total break.
I'm fairly certain I know the answer to this question, but things could always surprise me. Have they said anything to you about like, hey, if you don't feel comfortable working, we'll give you time off, that kind of a thing?
Oh, that's a good one. Oh man.
Like I said,
No.
I was fairly certain of the answer before I started it, but I'm trying to do my job as a
Okay.
serious journalist here.
One of my coworkers was like, "Hey, I'm terrified of catching this because I'm immunocompromised. I could fucking die." And the district manager said, "Quit."
Seriously? Wow.
Yep. 100%. That was legit what was said to somebody who could die from this.
That reminds me. So I have a friend who also has a store that's open. I don't really want to like.
Can you
say
ask
names
your
because-
district manager what hell looks like?
Oh, trust me, I will.
Okay, so I've got a friend who works also in retail, right,
Mhm.
and who is kind of running into the same issues, right? Who's forced to kind of work through this. It's considered essential for some God knows what reason, but here's the interesting thing: the manager keeps going home because that manager is scared of catching the coronavirus.
Oh,
Now, here's also the very interesting thing. I'm friends with that manager on Facebook for some fucking reason. I don't know why I'm friends with that manager on Facebook, but they post like the weirdest, like the coronavirus is a government conspiracy created by the CIA.
It's turning the frogs gay.
Yeah, it's just like talking about like how the coronavirus isn't an actual thing and this is just the government trying to scare you. So,
Aw.
yeah. So, how do you feel about people in that kind of situation that are just fucking hypocrites? KevKat, how do you feel about like a situation like this? Like, if it were you in this situation, like if KevKat was having this situation happen at KevKat's job, how would you feel about this?
Well, I'm glad you asked, Charles. I would be if I was a person in this
What would your
situation.
exactly, as an employee of a sex shop who is running into this issue where the manager
Charles.
I'm sorry. She's not listening. Come on. Come on.
Oh my god, please. Okay. You know what? If I was in this situation, hypothetically, I would be pissed. Because that is just like, you cannot treat people like that and say, well, it sucks to suck, but I'm going to go home early. And I'm going to fucking bail on my shifts and have people cover it and have somebody who could be in danger of this cover my shifts instead. And then just go around and say shit like, oh, well, Ariana Grande was placed by the government and the coronavirus was made up. You know, shit like that is just hypothetically, if I was in the situation.
What? Hypothetically, if this was a manager named Val, she believes that Ariana Grande is a fucking government plant. We need to talk about.
Wait, well, okay, you're gonna have to take a step back. How does Ariana Grande figure into this?
Just the love of conspiracy theories and true belief in them.
Yeah.
Really, honestly, I was told
You heard.
your friend told me that they believe in lizard people and stuff like that. And like I respect people. I don't give a shit what you think. You can believe whatever conspiracy theory you want. Maybe there is some truth to them. You know, maybe it turns out that we're the fucking idiots and the conspiracy theories are right. And I will eat my fucking words. But when you start implicating, when you start putting other people in danger and then pushing these theories at the same time that directly contradict your actions, what the fuck, bro? Like, you don't treat people like that. You don't act like that. You're an adult.
I don't think I could say it any better or really add anything to it except that you're an asshole and I would not cry if you got the coronavirus.
Oh, fuck.
Okay,
oh, man.
this person, I'm on their Facebook currently, and
make
they
sure
made a
you
post.
tell them I said that.
Yeah,
Don't.
This post happened 10 hours ago. Currently 10 hours ago, this post was made, and it's the most like copy pasta bullshit Donald Trump. That it's fake news.
I did a shit ton of peyote and fucking 6 lines of Coke, and now I know everything.
Right. God, she's such a fucking idiot.
You know, our esteemed colleague Corbin David Alba, we were talking when we recorded the show the other day. He thinks, and I believe he means this sincerely. He's a religious person. I am not, as you know, but he thinks that this is honestly this is biblical judgment. That as a society, as a country that values sensational opinion and flashy celebrity over facts and reason and science, that this is basically God's way of judging us. And although I don't really believe in religion, I'm starting to think he has a point.
So if we're going this route, I wonder if anyone knows a lot about astrology in the chat, and if they want to jump in on this, that would be super dope. But somebody mentioned something about how everyone was freaking out about Mercury being in retrograde.
Mm-hmm.
There's apparently an alignment of the planets whenever these certain planets are in line. It only happens like a couple hundred years or something along the lines of that. But whenever it happens, insane tragedies ensue. Like, I want to look this up and look more into it, but like the worst world disasters occurred whenever this happened, like World War II, all kinds of crazy.
Yeah, it usually happens. So like I've been doing a lot of research on this too. Like it usually happens when Mercury is in Renegade and
Lorenzo Lamas, the Renegade? I loved that show.
Renegade.
Yeah.
But
You guys are too young to remember that show, but it was
Renegade?
great.
I'm
Yeah.
not too young to remember fucking Renegade.
He wore
I-
wore a duster and he rode a motorcycle
Uh-huh.
and like solved mysteries
Uh-huh.
or whatever.
Oh yeah.
yeah, and he had a dog best friend that spoke Spanish.
Is that true?
Yeah.
I don't remember that, but I
don't know what.
it sounds on brand.
Show.
It's on brand. It's on brand.
Fangirl
Yeah.
says it's Jupiter and Pluto alignment, and that's 100% true. You know, I respect like the idea of making those sorts of correlations, but even if I grant that those things are happened at the same time, which may be true, I don't know shit about astrology. Although my ex-girlfriend did like to say Mercury in retrograde whenever she was pissed about something. So
Nice.
that's about the extent of my experience with it. But just because those things happen at the same time doesn't mean that one caused the other, right?
Okay,
too
but
many of
you're,
these
you're
things.
gonna believe that.
Too many of these things.
Let,
Go ahead.
I'm so sorry. I was just gonna say, but you're gonna let Corbin believe that there's an angry Sky Daddy punishing us.
He can believe anything he wants. Like anybody can believe anything they want. That's not my thing. But for me to put any stock into that would take away the human responsibility. And the fallout that we're seeing from what's happening right now in the world is directly tied to specific human decisions. And
right, like denying those tests back in January. So we're just completely fucked now.
Exactly. And I'm willing to believe that anything is possible, but it's a huge stretch for me to think that, because planets are aligned in a certain way, that's causing these people to make these decisions, and that's what's trickling down to the disaster that we're facing. Like I said, if anybody believes it, that's totally cool. I got no problem with that. It's just that's a huge pill for me to swallow.
Fair. And I don't think that anyone thinks that these planets are forcing people to do anything or that the alignment is, forcing that. I think it's just like kind of the negative energy. I don't know a whole lot about this. I'm talking about it. I'm kind of interested in it.
It's
but
the fucking vibes, guys. It's just the vibes planet.
Get your fucking shitty ass vibes out of my goddamn house. Good vibes only.
Good coronavirus free vibes only here today only coronavirus free vibes.
I'm about to change that.
Limit
I'm about
one
to change
per customer.
My TikTok description to that.
Okay, so I am currently on the Switch, and one of the people in my town, her name is Bianca. She's totally adorable. She sang me a song.
Okay.
And because you get like little like vaulting poles to get over rivers in Animal Crossing, right? So she sang me a song, and the lyrics go, "Stick thing, jumping over water, screaming through the sky. Stick thing, gets you where you're going, always keeps you dry. Stick thing. Stick Thing Inc. is not liable for slivers, dampness, or mounting ennui about a Stick Thing free life."
Bars?
If stick lasts for longer than 4 hours, please consult a medical expert.
Yeah.
Bars?
Which reminds me, I need to go to the doctor after this for my stick thing. So
I also need to go to the doctor for my stick thing. I lost it.
Oh,
where did it go?
detachable stick thing.
Trans joke.
This is our best show ever, guys.
It's weird.
So there's lots of movies that have been released on demand because all the theaters are closed. Has anybody watched anything new?
I have watched 2 episodes of Picard, the Star Trek Picard featuring Patrick Stewart. I watched the first 2 episodes, and I said, "Wow, this is trash." And then I stopped watching it.
See, I've heard a lot of feedback that's kind of the opposite from that. I haven't watched the show yet, but just wasn't doing it for you.
Oh, it's so like anti everything that Star Trek stands for, and like there is no depth that are being made. It's made for the coolness factor, right? A lot of the things that you see in the show are very like based around like how cool is this idea, but like none of it has any like actual value or like depth, and I'm just like I'm good. I don't need that kind of media right now. I don't like I'm fine with like a brain dead show, but that's not Star Trek for me. Star Trek is, you know, hopeful and like belief in a better world, and this is just like, oh, everybody's a racist, which I mean like is very timely, but it's not what Star Trek is. Star Trek has always been
is it trying to
better.
be like extra woke? Is that the idea? You think?
I don't think it's necessarily like extra woke, which I don't necessarily agree with like that terminology,
Sure.
but like it's more so like it's it's trying to do like they don't like follow any of the lore of Star Trek at all. It's not like it's like somebody didn't watch Star Trek. But then on the other hand, on that front, it's like you can't really expect like every single thing to follow the deep lore of every single thing. But it's like some major things that they're kind of like falling by the wayside of. Like for
So would
instance,
you?
go ahead.
Oh,
So
sorry.
so
Would
is
you
it
say
kind of
that
like
it's kind of like? Would you say it's kind of like American Psycho 2, where it's just a different thing, but they slap the name on for the nostalgia and money of it?
Yeah, I feel well. Okay, no, I feel like it's a little bit more like, hey, we liked creating Star Wars or Star Trek. Star Trek's fun. You know, we've got this thing. You know, and Patrick Stewart wants money, so why don't we like do something with it? And that's it's more like they're trying to create something fun, uh, so that people will like, but it's not what Star
steers
Trek
too
is.
far from the source material?
Right. So
Like it,
like
like
for
if they
instance,
made if they took like Marvel's Punisher and made like a Punisher children's special.
exactly. So like for instance, big thing. Um that's kind of like a big Star Trek like lore thing. There's the Vulcans and the Romulans, right?
Yeah.
So and they're both based in like history, you know, like a lot of like that racial stuff is based around like human you know history and stuff like that. But the whole basis of Romulans versus Vulcans is they are the same species, right? They both came from the same place forever ago, and they split over like differences. Where the the Vulcans decided that you know emotion was not important, and that you know it's very important to be uh, logical, to not create wars and stuff like that. The Romulans believed in the exact opposite, and were very you know in tune with their emotions, you know, for better or for worse, mostly worse, because they created you know thousands of wars, and you know the you know it's you know they were the big bad guys in a lot of Star Trek. I'm fine with like Vulcans not being bad, but when you're like, oh, we're Vulcans, but we also have like these very like logical based practices, it's like that's like the one big thing that Vulcans and Romulans had different, and that's big. It just makes me feel like they don't care about Star Trek, and like that's bullshit, because I also know it's more important to make a good show than anything else, and like I'm talking over myself at this point, and kind of like that was gross. Whoever made that mouth noise, that was gross.
Oh, I'm
Uh,
sorry, it might have
it's
been
okay.
me.
It was a big gulp. Like it was like gulp. He's
It
gonna keep talking about Star Trek
no,
for
it,
20
it
minutes.
was KevKat's interpretation of your review of Picard, or of the first two
It
episodes
was.
of Picard.
It's it's just and it's bland, and it's just cliche as fuck, and it's just like, all right, cool. I wish they would have done something a little bit more interesting with it, but
So
they decided not
so here's what I want to know: is it
to.
better or worse than Discovery?
Who boy? Okay. Who boy?
You're welcome.
Discovery. Okay. Discovery is its own thing. It's written by the same writers, by the way. Like
Yeah.
all the same writers wrote both shows. So like if that right there kind of like pens why I kind of dislike both. But um I think it's worse. I think it's
Hmm. Well,
Like what? Wait,
now I have to see this train wreck. So maybe
It's
I'll check out Picard this week sometime.
there's like this. It's just. It's a lot. It's a lot. There's a lot of different reasons. I feel like Discovery was trying to be its own thing, right? Like
Mhm.
kind of new characters fitting with like the past a little bit. You know, the main character is a brand new character. You know, Michael Burnham is Spock's sister, right?
Right.
Human sister, adopted human sister. This is a lot. There's a lot there. But they're making new characters and doing something different. When it comes to Picard, it's just the Next Generation 2, but without following anything that Next Generation did originally, and why, like the not even like playing with the thesis of Next Generation originally, right? Like Next Generation was all about like supporting different cultures and and that's what Star Trek is, right?
Yeah.
Like different cultures are important, and
Yeah.
that's why like Starfleet was huge, because it was a group of a bunch of different races working together, you know, with different customs and different like lifestyles to make peace and make a better universe.
Yeah, it was
right?
it was a hopeful version of what life could be if people just got out of their own way. And God, could we use that
Same
right
thing,
now?
and we've always been racists, and it's just like I get like why it's very topical, but that's what was different about Star Trek, is it was a better world than what we currently lived in.
it was an
Yeah.
escape.
And
It
also
was an escape, and it was socialist as fuck, and now it's not like it's not based around socialism. Like there's money and shit now, and it's like, but like
Ew.
they got rid of money in Star Trek. Like that's a huge plot point in Star Trek. It's like we don't have any need for money, and now it's like, now pay me. What are you gonna pay me? How am I gonna get
Fuck
ahead?
you, pay me.
Yeah.
Well, that sounds like an awful trip down memory lane. What I want to know is, does Riker play the saxophone?
Riker doesn't play the saxophone, but he does make
Fuck.
pizza apparently.
He makes pizza. He's a what, pizza delivery man?
He's a pizza boy.
He is a pizza boy.
All right.
You don't. Okay. Jonathan Frakes, actor, director, is a pizza boy. He is a pizza boy in this show. I'm not fucking with you. I haven't seen the episode yet. I've only like heard like bits from it.
Are you going to keep
Riker.
watching the show?
Probably through the season, right? Like I've already got it downloaded.
You mean it's already on CBS All Access, which you are paying for?
No, I downloaded it illegally. I don't give a fuck. Come after me. Come after me.
And
What
your
are you gonna
and
do?
your address
It's
is
quarantine. No one pays for anything.
Yeah, exactly.
We're too fucking broke.
Support your independent artists, folks. Don't pay for shit.
I have supported multiple artists so far, but that's not an independent artist. That is CBS,
That's
company known for trash like isn't Big Bang Theory a CBS show?
True. Yes, it is.
Ew.
Yeah, I'm good without like paying any kind of money to CBS ever for creating
See,
that
okay,
nightmare.
to be fair, CBS/Showtime brought back Twin Peaks.
Okay.
So you got to temper that just a teens. I'm not saying
Right.
it's a forgiveness for all of their sins, but they do have that tiny glimmer of hope in their catalog.
Yeah, okay.
Right.
Yes, Twin Peaks is great, but remember Dexter? Remember that show? Like it started off amazing, but remember Lumberjack Dexter, the end of that show? Remember that?
I remember
how
hearing about it.
terrible
I
that was?
actually haven't watched Dexter.
I've never finished it.
Oh, my dudes, you don't need to finish it. Don't finish it. It's the worst show.
Oh.
It's the worst ending ever. He
Um,
makes out with his ending of Dexter. He makes out with his sister. His sister then dies in front of him like immediately after.
what?
And then there's a hurricane.
You lost me at he makes out with his sister.
My dude.
Are you
makes out with
talking
his
about
sister.
Dexter or Eurotrip?
No, makes out with his sister. then she dies like in front of him, and then there's a hurricane, so he takes the body of Deb, his sister, who he wanted to fuck, and he throws her off the side of the boat. And then in a flash forward that happens, 2 years later, we see Dexter in Canada as a lumberjack, and he's a sad lumberjack, and that's the end of the fucking show. There's no point. There's no point.
After that description, I also would like to be thrown off of a boat.
For real. It's like, hey, while you're throwing people off a boat, could you just toss me in as well?
Me next too, bruh, real quick. I need this.
So,
Me, please.
okay, so switching gears. So Picard is trash. That's good, but I get to see William Riker delivering pizza, so that's exciting. I'm I'm hesitant to bring up this topic, but I know it's near and dear to at least one of the three of us. What do we think about this rent strike?
Okay. I am behind it. I'm all for it. I'm like I do think that if enough people participate that it will actually get things bought. And like okay, so it started in Fort Collins. It started as a Fort Collins rent strike.
Mm-hmm.
And then it grew too big. So they made it a Colorado rent strike. And then it grew too big. And then they made it a fucking like America rent strike. And now there are rent strikes like all across the country. Everybody is planning on, they're putting sheets in their windows. They are writing letters to their governors and momentum on their rent and shit so that they can live their lives without fucking dying. And it's great to see that some landlords are already telling people, hey, don't fucking worry about paying rent. Don't worry about paying rent in the future for this month. Because there are way too many people. We went out a week ago and we were waiting in line for something, of course, 6 feet away from everybody else. And everybody was like, dude, I just lost my job. There were way too many fucking people who just got told to eat it and they have nothing to do. A friend of mine went to file for employment, and on the website it said that if you got fired because of the coronavirus that you don't qualify.
I don't know how I feel about that. We should check
that.
on that.
Yeah, that doesn't sound right at all, because the whole point of unemployment insurance is that if you lose your job through no fault of your own, that's what it's there for. So I'm guessing that your friend misread that, or there was some error or something, because that's not right at all. I'm
hoping there was an error.
As someone who
tell
has
him to try again.
Yeah,
but
as someone who has had to file for unemployment a couple of times in his life, that's exactly what it's there for. The only thing it doesn't cover is if you are fired for cause. So the cause being you were bad at your job, you were stealing. Basically, if they have a good reason to fire you, then you're not covered. But if it's anything else, with the exceptions for like independent contractors and things like that, then you're covered. So that definitely does not sound right, based on what your friend experienced.
The thing is, cause could make sense in this situation.
It doesn't though, because the state and federal governments have both said that unemployment will cover these things. Now, is it going to cover everybody, and is it going to cover 100% of their wages? Absolutely not. Even on a good day, unemployment only covers 60% of whatever you made over the last year. That's how that's calculated. But I mean,
okay, but then I'll have him check it out.
Have him check it out again.
On the other thing, right? There are a lot of businesses right now who are firing people not because of the coronavirus, but things that have happened like years previously, right? And this is where a lot of the really sketchy stuff that is coming out, like from things that I've seen online. Like, obviously, I don't have any like actual verification in front of me, but from what I'm hearing, like a lot of not a lot, but like some businesses are playing the game too well and firing people for things that they've done well previously, so that they don't have to give insurance because of the coronavirus, and they
Do you
don't have to
remember
pay that
2
out.
years ago when you forgot to change the toilet paper after I asked you to do it? Fuck you.
Yeah, yeah. So basically, I mean, like that's what a few people have been saying online, that businesses are doing this, and in no way is that like a general like overview of the actual thing, and I don't think like an overview of like the state of America as it stands, but like there's some people who are like fucking around with some shit, and it's not okay, and it's not okay to take advantage of people during like the most trying times of their entire existence, like seeing fucking landlords who are like, I understand that you have lost your job, however our expectation is that you still like pay out 100% on time, even though like you are like a huge portion of Americans have lost their jobs. Fuck that. I don't give a fuck. You still owe me money. Is like some mob shit, and I don't stand for that. Like fuck
Right.
that shit.
Mhm.
Like I am not okay with that at all. And
Mm-mm.
that shit pisses me the fuck off. And that's why like I'm not gonna pay my landlord rent. So KevKat, you can fuck right off. I'm not paying you shit. So
That's fine. I'm not paying my landlord shit either.
So I have to be really careful about how I phrase this. I support the idea of a rent strike. I think that there are too many people who who own property and charge exorbitant amounts of rent. I think we can all agree on that. Like, I mean, I've told you guys, not on the air, but like I've told you guys what I pay for the place I'm in right now, and it's insane. It's absolutely absurd.
Mm-hmm.
And what is upsetting is the fact that a system exists where that sort of exorbitant rent can be tolerated by the community, where people just say, oh, well, that's just how it is. I mean, my rent this is my 8th year in this place. And in that 7+ years that I've been here, my rent has gone up about 60 or 70%.
Ooh,
So,
no.
not every year, mind you, but over the course of those years. So I 100% believe that basically people can just charge whatever they want, and especially in towns like Fort Collins that all three of us live in, they can get away with it because there's such a demand for people to live here, and there's no government control over the amounts of rents that can be charged or the deposits that they can take, all of those things. So I'm 100% supportive and sympathetic in that respect.
And then, yeah, people keep saying things like, I can't wait till it goes back to normal. Normal wasn't working. People still couldn't make rent. The U+2 law, like, with the way that rent is set up, it's near impossible for you to live on your own. It is, if you are working a minimum wage job, for you to live on your own in Fort Collins.
Oh,
you
yeah.
have to have at least 2 other roommates in order for you to make it. And if you don't, like the nicer places, you're going to need more than that, but legally you can't.
Right, because you can't have more than 3 people. Yeah, I mean, the system that has created what everybody here is experiencing is a fraud, and it's awful, and it's terrible. However, saying, like, I'm a part of that rent strike group as well, and I've been keeping an eye on the conversations that have been happening, and what turned me off about the idea was the fact that there were specifically two instances that I saw where people came in and said, hey, look, I'm a homeowner, I am a landlord, I want to learn more about what's going on with this and how I can help. And not universally, but I would say 90% of the discussion that sort of thing created were people saying, you're a piece of shit, you're a parasite, you're stealing my money, you're extorting all of this rent from us and we can't afford to pay. And it got to the point where then, basically a kangaroo court was established where people decided, hey, we're not going to allow landlords in here because they're, parasitic sects of humanity. And I remember saying, and I did say in those comment threads, like, chill the fuck out. If we're going to figure out a solution to this, that has to be something that we come to together. And
do you think that was everyone that was involved? Like, because most of the people I've talked to who have spoken to landlords who are being reasonable about this, who are like, how can I help? What's going on? They've been accepted and they've been totally fine. I have a friend of mine who has spoken to he owns land and he's spoken to his renters and stuff like that. And they worked everything out just fine. There's several posts on that page of landlords being like, no, this rent strike is necessary and important, and people being like, thank you for recognizing it. And just, I'm not sure exactly what the instance was, but I've seen a lot of support for landlords who are willing to hear out what's going on, who are willing to understand what this point of view, like what the situation is.
Yeah, there were.
Like
the issue with that was that the people who were responding to them, people who were not landlords, who were renters, are so incredibly angry, and by all rights, they have a right to be, but they are so incredibly angry about the situation they're facing that they were just shitting on this guy to the point where he left the group.
How would all of the people? Because
pretty much everybody but me and one other person. There were two of us who were calling for civility and about 30 other people who were piling on saying that you're a parasite who's stealing money from poor people. And he was just like, look, I'm here to learn. I'm here to listen. I'm not telling everyone, hey, you need to pay your rent, or hey, you need to do this, or hey, you need to do that. I am just here to listen. And he got nothing but vitriol from the majority of the people in that discussion thread. Now, granted, that was only one discussion thread, but I spent half a day trying to calm that down, and it did nothing because people are so angry. And again, people have a right to be angry. But if we can't come together and talk about these issues and how we can fix them, then there's no ground to be made. That's
true, but you can't put the entire movement aside and say that it's not something that you support anymore just because there were a handful. And I'm not saying that these people aren't toxic, because if you jump on someone who's genuinely trying to help out, learn, and figure out how to be a positive part of this situation from the quote unquote opposing side, then you should not be a part of the movement. You should not be someone who, you shouldn't be speaking at that moment, because learning and teaching and getting people to understand is a very important part. And if somebody reaches out and says, that's what I want to do, you should hear them out and give them a chance to learn. Now, if somebody reaches out and says that they want to learn and then they're not listening at all, that's a different argument.
Right.
But you shouldn't.
Well, I'm not discounting the whole movement. I guess
people.
What I'm saying is,
you said it turned you off from it.
It turned me off from some of the discussion. Now I'm going to say here too, like, I realize that I'm in a more advantageous position than some are. I still have a job. I'm still earning the same wage that I did before the crisis hit. And I'll still be able to pay all of my bills. Now, I recognize that I'm in the minority there, but because of that, I will be paying my rent on April 1st. Not because I choose not to stand in solidarity, but because I made a commitment, granted, tortious or extortionate or whatever you want to call it. I made a commitment to do something, and my ability to do that thing has not been impacted. Therefore, I need to maintain that commitment. But that doesn't mean
else's has. And the thing is, unless we stand together, they're going to get fucking crushed. If you have the mindset of, well, it's not happening to me and I can still cover it, so why would I act with these people? Why would I stand with these people? That is why movements fail, because the people who would have the biggest impact decide to drop out because they're fine. They're set and they'll be okay.
I mean,
that doesn't mean that my neighbors aren't going to be okay. That doesn't mean my friend might not lose their home. That doesn't mean that half of the people I know aren't going to end up homeless. I can pay my bills too. I can pay my rent on time. I'm not going to, because I know too many people who aren't going to be able to. Too many people who went to their job and the next day had no job, had nothing. They went from having already living paycheck to paycheck, already stressed before this even happened. And now they're completely and utterly fucked. And people who can pay their bills, people who are going to be just fine, would have the biggest impact in this movement, would be what would make sure that these people can be okay after this. But instead, they're still just going to be just fine. So why would they care? Why would they do anything to help? Why would they lend their voices and their actions?
I tend to look at it as, and I don't disagree with you, but I think where I diverge on that is, I mean, I don't think there's a situation here where everybody wins. I think that, April 1st is a week from now. I don't know what people are expecting to happen in that span of a week. The government can't even seem to agree on a stimulus package. And with the way bureaucracy works, nothing's going to get solved in a week. And even right after April 1st, for however long the moratorium on evictions happens, and even in Larimer County, I found out that moratorium is exactly 2 weeks, that they are not going to enforce evictions. That's a good thing. But what happens in 2 weeks? What happens to all those people then? Then they're going to get kicked out of their homes. And I don't think that there's an amount of people that's going to change that outcome.
There should have already been a change, is the point.
There should
this
have,
is
but
just
they're
bringing that change to light and saying that this situation is proving that this is wrong and you need to change it, and we will not pay until you change it.
Okay.
Until this is changed. And I'm not saying that it's going to happen in 1 week, and I'm not saying that this is going to be a perfect solution and everyone's going to be happy. I'm saying that this is going to make people actually realize that the power is in the people, that if we stand together, we can actually make a difference instead of just bailing because you're going to be just fine.
That makes a lot of sense. Let me ask you this, and it's okay if you don't have like an answer for it, but like, what does that change look like? Like, what are we expecting? What are we expecting the outcome to be? And what I mean by that is, like, if you look at successful movements like the civil rights riots and the sit-ins and the demonstrations of the 60s, those had a very clear-cut goal. And that goal was to give African Americans the right to vote. It was simple. It was clear. It was something that they could easily communicate to any single person that walked by and said, hey, what are you protesting? We're protesting this. What do you want to change? We want this to happen. Okay, cool. That's easy for me to understand. I can either choose to support that or choose not to. But it was simple and it was clear. And within this movement, and not just within the rent strike group, but everywhere I'm seeing in social media, the demands or requests range from give everybody free homes to Congress guaranteeing universal basic income to guaranteeing that the federal minimum wage is a much higher amount than the economy can support. All of these sort of disparate ideas and suggestions, and we need to be having those conversations. We need to have those ideas. But when you have such a disparate group of people who are at all different levels of economic sustainability, how do you get them all to agree on this is what we want, this is what we need, and use the movement as a way to support that? Like, what is the expected outcome?
The expected outcome This movement was created specifically out of everybody losing their jobs and being literally unable to pay because the government was so unprepared for this crisis that we have nothing, that people have nothing now. And that is on the government, and that is on the people who are supposed to take care of their own people. So we're asking them to take care of us because this is their mistake and they need to pay it back. They need to make sure that everyone isn't going to end up homeless because they physically cannot go to their jobs. And rent's not supposed to be this fucking high anyway. That's just my own personal thing. The minimum wage has not risen with the cost of rent and the cost of living the way that it's supposed to. It's not even. Nobody in America, nowhere in America is minimum wage enough to pay rent. So the fact that on top of everybody who is in a minimum wage position, especially, are just getting dropped because there's just not enough people out, there's not enough money, and these companies they don't give them benefits or assurance that they're going to be fine through these jobs, is a complete lack of unpreparedness and people being kicked out on the streets. My brain just shorted. Hold on.
It's okay. I mean, and that's the problem, right? It's such a huge monumental thing that there is no clear, easy answer. You know, as much as I'm sure, as much as I would like to see it, as much as lots of us would like to see it, the government is not and probably cannot afford to give everyone free housing.
And
I realize you're not necessarily asking for that.
No, nobody's asking for free housing. They're asking for the shit they should have gotten in the first place, which is assurance that they would be fine through something that the government was supposed to.
Right. I get that. But the problem is, like, what is that thing? Is that rent forgiveness? Is it standardizing housing costs? Is it
rent forgiveness for at least a month? 1 month where people do not have to pay rent, don't have to worry about back fees, don't have to worry about paying it next month, no eviction, anything like that. Because this shouldn't have happened anyway. We shouldn't be in this position anyway. And people who work minimum wage jobs are expected to have this money saved up when they can't even fucking afford groceries a week after paying rent.
Yeah. I mean, and I agree. Like, but the problem is, like, okay, let's say that that's the thing you ask for is 1 month of rent forgiveness for starters. You're talking about a government who could not keep 19 people with box cutters off of a couple of planes to try to enforce a brand new policy that applies to every resident of this country, all 330 million of us, overnight. How does that work?
But they were against socialism until they realized that this shit happened, and then suddenly they were able to send every American $1,000, and then
that hasn't
Mitch
happened.
McConnell, well, that's what they're saying they're going to do, and then suddenly Mitch McConnell presents this payment plan to help big corporations stay afloat rather than the American people. Trillions of dollars being poured into that. Of course, it was shut down, but still, they can pull that out of their ass. They can present those ideas overnight.
Well, anybody
so radical.
It's anybody can present an idea, but getting something that all of Congress can agree on and that the president can agree on, like, we've seen how difficult that is, and it's what I'm worried about, in all honesty, is that. And I'm not trying to dissuade anybody from doing this. I want to make that very clear. I think if you believe you should do this, then do it. But my fear, my worry, is that people are going to do that, and then the virus subsides, and maybe we get some sort of stimulus package. Maybe we don't. It's all up in the air. And those people who did that might be in a worse position now because they'd be going through eviction proceedings. That's my fear. Now, am I saying that's going to happen? No. Do I want that to happen? Absolutely not. But that's what I'm scared of. And I don't know how to stop that. And I don't think this movement has the legs to make that change. I want it to. I would love for it to, but I don't know if it can.
I think support of movements like this, ones that don't seem to have legs, create movements that do. Create options and people believing that change is possible and actually putting forth the effort to enforce those changes. If nobody stands up, everybody sits down and they just take everything. If you start something, even if it seems stupid, even if it seems 100% waste of time, you're at least implanting the idea that something is possible and changes will follow. I don't think that just being like, well, that sucks that everybody gets homeless. Well, maybe it'll get better later. No, if you don't be a part of the people who are like, we need to make this better, then nothing will change.
You're right. I 100% agree with you. But I feel like
Thanks.
it's a circumstance where I don't know.
If you're too scared to take this step, nothing's gonna happen. And I understand. I'm not trying to like yell at you for paying your rent. I'm not upset at you for not participating. I understand. I'm fucking scared too. I love my apartment. I love my home and everything, and I don't want to lose it. But I don't want to lose my home. And there are people who don't have that option of paying their rent instead.
Right.
And I'd rather lend my voice to them and make sure that they're heard, that enough people like me and enough people like them are speaking out, that at least they'll get heard, that at least maybe someone will pay attention.
I hope you're right. I really, really do.
Me too.
We're all facing very, very scary times, and we probably shouldn't have ended the show with this, but you know, it is what it is.
Hey, my microphone, my laptop died. Did I miss a serious conversation? Did I miss anything?
Oh yeah. Charles, is that what happened?
You've been listening to or watching NoCo Live, NoCo FM's weekly
shit show. Weekly
shit show. We talk about whatever we want, and sometimes that gets us into trouble. But for those of you who are still with us, there have been a couple more comments in the chat. One of whom saying, "Can I call into the stream? I have some very valuable insight." And then another one just saying, "I'm gassy." So that's about the range of human endeavor that we strive for on this show. But
call it next week. Let's talk about this more.
I think we're gonna.
Let's call it next week.
L Newt, L_Newt. Thanks for asking. We've kind of run out of time tonight. We're already over our time, but next week we'll be back here doing the same show at the same place at the same time.
Will we?
In theory.
Dude, write that shit down. Write it down. Write down what you want to say, and like, call in and we'll talk about it.
Yeah,
I'm down to talk about this more.
I think we do need to have these conversations, and it sucks that they're so hard to have, but they are necessary, and that's why they're so hard. So,
right.
Thank you everyone for tuning in. If you're watching or listening. This is NoCo Live. It's we do the show Mondays, 11 p.m. Eastern, 9 p.m. Mountain on NoCo.fm on the live stream, and on YouTube and Twitch at NoCo.live. We are at NoCo FM on the social medias. What else? KevKat, what's your show?
My show is NoCo Gadio, and it's gay as shit. All I play is queer artists, and sometimes I actually make that show, and it plays on Fridays at 7 p.m. Mountain Standard Time on NoCo.fm.
Charles?
Or you can get it anywhere Saturday morning.
I am talk and roll. It happens sometimes.
There's one this week, right?
There is, and it's all edited. I'm just putting under the final touches. We were all sick when we recorded it, so I had to record a multi-track, and editing in multi-track is not what I'm used to nowadays, and it was a pain in the ass. So we're back, got it.
Drop an F in the chat.
So yeah,
don't drop an F. Don't pay no respect. Drop an emoji in the chat that signifies the return of the thing that you love.
Fangirl
Draw
says,
a crying face with a thumbs up.
Fangirl says, love you guys. Hope you stay safe. We hope you stay safe as well. And thank you so much for tuning into the show and being part of the chat and talking with us. Like, you know, we will be here until the government orders us not to be. She says, this had to be one of the most interesting shows I've listened to. Thank you guys for that. Thank you. That means a lot.
I'm so glad you liked it.
And you know, we'll try to have more of these conversations because things are only getting crazier out there. So again, for Charles, for KevKat, this has been NoCo Live. If you missed part of the show, you want to catch up, you can see the past episodes at youtube.com/NoCoFM, or get this show as a podcast. Just search for NoCo Live on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, all of those. For KevKat, for Charles, I am Chris Lanfear, holding it down on the ones and twos. Thank you guys for joining me through the intertubes. We'll see you next week.
Bye.
Bye.